Hello everyone and welcome back to Unraveling Politics. This is a show where I discuss the news and politics and I provide my analysis in a way that everyone can understand. So today, as you can see from the title, we're going to be talking about what the Biden campaign is running on. There was a couple of days where I was wondering if I would even have to upload this episode, and if you don't know what I mean, I'll explain in a little bit. If you did not see the debate, I highly recommend you listen to my debate episode or you watch the debate yourself. A lot happened. Needless to say, President Biden did not do very well. So I have some notes here that has happened in the days since then. But I also want to show you what that Biden will be running on. So let's see. The news. This is something I would have said in a regular episode. Now, as I'm recording this, there could be some more things that happen. But I have to record this episode in advance because I have some things coming up. So this is the best information we have available. As of right now, 2 Democrats have called for Joe Biden to drop out of the race. One of them being Lloyd Doggett, who is a Democrat from Texas, and another one, his name is skipping me right now. He's a Democrat from Arizona. But keep in mind, no matter what happens, whether he drops out or not, he'd still be president for the next 6.5 to 7 months. A poll from CNN found that 75% of all Americans say Biden should be replaced. President Biden's job approval is at a new low in a CNN poll at 36%, and he has not lost ground to Trump just yet. At this time, 4 years ago, he was ahead 9% in the polls. Now he's down by about 2. So you think that's think about it, that's an 11-point swing. CNN, this is something that could be important for replacing Biden. CNN said they did a poll. Who has no opinion on the various people? So 7% of Americans have no opinion on Trump. 8% of Americans have no opinion on Biden. So that shows you just how much sway that there is left. Only 7 to 8% of people, 7 to 8%, really only 7% of Americans could be swayed either way. But Kamala Harris, it's 22%, which means there's a decent chunk of Americans, over a fifth, according to this poll, that could be persuaded to vote for another candidate, to vote for Kamala Harris, potentially, because they have no opinion on her. Democratic governors and Congress, men and women, are concerned. They're concerned that the dam will break. The Biden campaign, though, has raised $127 million as of June 30th. So here's my thinking. The Biden campaign is going to have to make a decision. Obviously, they're going to have to decide whether to keep Biden in the race or not. But if you haven't noticed, there has been a shift in tone. Right after the debate, Democrats were saying there's no way Biden's going to drop out. But now it's shifted a little bit. Now they're saying if he stays in. So that door is being opened a little bit, which should be concerning to the Biden team. If I was the Democrats, I would keep Biden. I don't think any of the other candidates are polling well, even though I did say there are some more sway with Harris. It seems to me the more people know Harris, the more they don't like her. So I would say that it's Biden or bust. And I think this is, for the first time, I'm going to say this, is I think that at this point Trump is going to win. I think that chances of that are greater than 50%. I think I've said on the show a couple of weeks ago, even just a couple of weeks ago, I said I think Biden has the edge. I don't see how Trump is going to lose at this point unless something major happens with his sentencing in September. So here was probably one of the most confusing parts. Right after the debate on last Friday that was the 28th, if you haven't seen this speech in North Carolina, here was something from Biden, and he was back to life. He was roaring back to life.
Folks, let me close with this. I know I'm not a young man. State the obvious. Well, I know. As easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong. And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
There's clearly a lot of energy there, not just within the president, but also in the crowd, which is kind of amazing. I never saw that many people that supported Biden. I mean, obviously Trump has his fans, but I never considered Biden to have such a base. Anyway, as I was saying earlier, and then I interrupted myself, is that Biden campaign is going to have to make a choice. Assuming he stays in the race, which is probably the most likely outcome, they are running behind in the polls right now. So they need to, normally my advice would be, if you're behind, is to get out and to make your case. If you're behind, you need to fight with everything you've got. Except Biden doesn't have much left. So I'm going to give him the same advice that I would if somebody was running ahead, which would be to do the same thing he did in 2020, which is the basement strategy. Just hide in the basement. You don't do very much. Once he's the nominee, I would say keep as low a profile as possible. Unfortunately, that probably means he's going to lose. But then again, the alternative would be him doing the same debate performance all over again. So as you can hear, he sounded a little bit raspy, which was probably because of the cold, so that makes sense. The Biden camp is saying that it's jet lag, which doesn't make any sense because they were in Camp David for a whole week preparing for the debate. Yes, he did travel previously, but it doesn't take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get over jet lag. That's stupid. Even if you are 80, it doesn't take that long to get over jet lag. He's clearly aging. We've known this for a long time. I'd say the media has probably covered it up, and now they kind of have to face the chickens as they come home to roost. As I'm recording this, it is before the 4th of July, so I don't know what has happened over the weekend. We're going to have to see. Something I'll have to report on again. If you haven't noticed, I've been doing episodes Trump, Biden, back and forth. That's not been my intention, but that's kind of been what we've been doing so far. Let's take a look at Biden's campaign website. When I uploaded the last episode, there was no issues tab on his campaign website. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right spot, but it is there now. So I have to ditch the old episode that I recorded. I recorded and everything. It was perfect. Would have been great. It would have won awards. It would have maybe even made it onto Hollywood. I would have gotten a star on Hollywood Boulevard or whatever they call it. But no one's ever going to see it because it's out of date. So the first one that comes up on this website here, which I will link in the description, is protecting and strengthening our democracy. So this has kind of been Biden's whole thing. There's not much on here from what I understand. It's mostly just attacking Trump, which you can't expect on a campaign website. But that's not, what are the policies? It just says he's committed to strengthening our democracy and protecting our freedoms. If anything, Biden has undermined our democracy and destroyed our freedoms by imposing vaccine mandates, trying to get around the Supreme Court to do student loan forgiveness, and other things. And of course, it says Donald Trump's a dangerous threat to our democracy, tried to overturn the 2020 election, encouraging an violent angry mob to attack the Capitol on January 6th, where they violently assaulted police officers and attempted to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. So, no policies here. Growing the middle class. What is here? It's saying that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are rebuilding the backbone of America, a strong, inclusive middle class, after Donald Trump rigged the economy for rich people like himself. Although I would say Trump's not nearly as rich as he was 8 years ago. Joe and Kamala brought us back from the brink, creating more than 15.5 million jobs. Now that is misleading. First of all, I don't know if it's exactly 15.5, but I know that's misleading because a lot of those are recovered jobs that would have been recovered regardless of who was president. They worked across the aisle to pass historic legislation that is creating good-paying American jobs, rebuilding America's infrastructure, and bringing manufacturing back home. Some of that, yes, that is good stuff, but I like to see what is he going to do in the future. And of course, it said that Trump will cut Social Security and Medicare and terminate the Affordable Care Act. Trump's not going to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. They're not going to have the votes. I can pretty much guarantee that. So once again, no policies here. Fighting to lower costs for working families. So Joe and Kamala believe prices are too high for working families, and that's why their number one priority is fighting to lower drug costs for you, or costs for you. They've already lowered and capped prescription drugs. Yes, that's one of their things. For seniors and others on Medicare, and they're working to save families by cracking down on unfair junk fees charged by banks, credit card companies, and airlines. So this has not actually happened. I think they've tried to do some things with regulations, but it has not gone through. They know there's a lot more to do, and that's why they will lower drug costs for all Americans, make renting and buying a home more affordable, and give tax cuts to middle-class families, a sharp contrast with Trump, who will give handouts to billionaires and big corporations. But Trump will also provide tax cuts to middle-class Americans. Joe Biden also only wants to give them the middle class, but Trump will give it to everybody. Joe and Kamala will continue to fight to crack down price gouging on the pads that pad the profits of big corporations at your expense. Well, first of all, I want to know, what are you doing? What are you even doing right now? But okay, that's sort of a policy. We're getting there. So then it's saying Trump will side with big oil as they raise gas prices, which oil companies do not control the price of oil or price of gas, not directly anyway. Give to big pharma and propose a radical tariff policy. Well, here's the thing. Biden has also increased tariffs. Yes, Trump will increase them more, but Biden has increased tariffs on China specifically. But yes, Trump would make it for everybody in the world, no matter who we're getting it from. Which is kind of bizarre, considering Trump was the one that signed the USMCA. Alright. Building a fairer tax system that works for the middle class. Joe and Kamala believe that no billionaire should pay a lower tax rate than a school teacher or a firefighter, except that's not true. Billionaires pay a lot of money in taxes. If you ask me, they don't pay enough, but they definitely don't pay a lowered rate than the school teacher or firefighter. Some of them might do, as they get around it through loopholes. And yes, I think we should make our tax code fairer, which Biden is saying he did, except he didn't really. I almost wonder if we should just get rid of all kind of tax loopholes. Everything. All the tax credits, no more tax credits, no more loopholes. It's just the income, and that's it. That's something that we should look into. Now they're fighting to give tax cuts to the middle class, while they're making ultra wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share. Under their plan, nobody earning less than $40,000 a year will pay an additional penny in federal taxes. And of course, they have Trump, who wants to give billions and trillions away to big corporations and rich people. Of course, making healthcare more accessible and affordable. Joe Biden and Kamala believe that healthcare is a right, not a privilege. Under their leadership, more Americans have more health insurance than before, with huge increases in coverage for Black and Latino Americans. I don't know that off the top of my head. I could believe that. They strengthened the Affordable Care Act. That is true. Expanded access to affordable care, and took on big pharma and won, capping the price of insulin at $35 a month, and yearly out-of-pocket prescription drugs at $2,000 for seniors and others on Medicare. They empowered Medicare to negotiate drug prices to lower the cost of some of the most expensive drugs that cost seniors $3.4 billion annually. First of all, yes, that is good stuff, but those won't take effect for a couple more years, so we're not actually feeling the benefits of that just yet. Now, they're fighting to expand affordable care, lower prescription drug price for everyone, and cap the price of insulin and out-of-pocket drug costs for everybody. And of course, it says Trump wants to increase it, remove protections for pre-existing conditions, which, if you haven't seen my last episode, I have some pretty strong things to say about that. And of course, it said Trump will gut Medicare and repealing limits on drug costs to enrich his friends in big pharma. The last one on here is about abortion. Of course, we can't talk about Biden without talking about abortion. It says Joe Biden and Kamala Harris believe that reproductive rights healthcare decisions should be made by women and their doctor, not politicians. After Donald Trump overturned Roe v. Wade and stripped nearly 50 years of women's rights, Joe and Kamala took on action to protect and strengthen the reproductive healthcare access amid ongoing MAGA attacks. This includes signing 3 executive orders to strengthen reproductive healthcare access, fighting for women's right to emergency medical care, really abortion care, defending and expanding access to medication abortion and strengthening access to birth control. Joe and Kamala are fighting to restore the protections of Roe, and they will never allow a national abortion ban to become law. Well, let me just tell you this. A national abortion ban will never be passed by Congress. I can guarantee you that. That will never, ever happen. And, of course, abortion is one of Biden's strongest things, but they had time to get it done. They had time to do it before the midterms. They chose not to, because if they had done that, then they wouldn't have been able to run on it in those midterms or this election or every other election after that. So then, of course, it said Trump is proud that Roe was overturned. If elected, Trump will ban abortion nationwide. That's not true, and refuses to support nationwide protection for IVF. His close allies' Project 2025 proposal includes plans to attack reproductive health care in all 50 states without the help of Congress, including banning abortion, restricting access to birth control, and prosecuting and jailing women doctors for sending or receiving abortion medication in the mail. So that is everything on here. So ultimately, it's democracy, economy again, another economy. So really, democracy, middle class, costs / inflation, taxes, healthcare, and abortion. So nothing about foreign policy. Nothing on here really. And that's not even the accomplishments section. Biden does have a list of accomplishments on here. I'm not going to go through. Maybe at the end, if Biden loses re-election, maybe my last ever episode during his presidency will be going through all of his accomplishments. So, needless to say, I'm a little disappointed, kind of light on issues. If you ask me, Biden reminds me of a leader that is just growing tired under the burden of leadership. He's not able to lead anymore. He doesn't have a proper vision for the future. And that's quite disappointing. So, I'll throw this out here now. Trump's sentencing will be on September 18th at 10 a.m. The reason why it was delayed was because of the immunity claim. The prosecutors did not oppose the delay, the Trump sentencing. The reason for this delay is because the prosecutors used evidence from when Trump was president and they presented it to the jury. According to the Supreme Court, which has ruled that Trump has partial immunity for official acts as president, that's not allowed. So now we have to go revisit this. The judge on September 6th is going to consider whether to toss the conviction and bring the case back to trial. So I don't know what's worse for Trump, having this trial all over again and having that go through. Hopefully it would be after the election, at least for him, or just going through the sentencing. But I wouldn't be surprised if this goes back to trial. The only thing is, paying off a porn star is not an official, to stay quiet, is not an official act as president. That's what I would say. Anyway, Republicans are, at this point, because this is after the convention, it was supposed to be a couple days before the convention. Now it will definitely be after. Convention is later this month. They're gambling that Trump is not going to be sent to prison or under house arrest. Anyway, that is almost everything I have to say today. This point next week will be the Republican convention and anything else that happens with that. I don't anticipate anything. We'll have to see. This will be Trump's third nomination. I would be concerned that they've now pushed it from the end of the beginning of the convention to closer toward the election, because that's going to bring it more on voters' minds. Just something to keep in mind. Anyway, we'll have to see if Biden is even still going to be the nominee by the time this episode releases. If not, I'm still going to release it. And yeah, this video will have this podcast will have aged. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day. See you later.